Well, welcome back. This is lesson 5 in our series, First Steps into the Kingdom of God. Today we're dealing with the fall of man. Last week we looked at the test that was set up. God said, of all the trees of the garden you can eat, one tree, the tree in the center of the garden, you cannot partake of. Now, this week we're going to see what happened with that test. Our lesson is on the fall of man. Genesis 3, verse 1, we read, "Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals." A lot of people think that the devil was a serpent. That's not true. The devil used the serpent. Why? The serpent was crafty. The serpent back then was beautiful. I don't like snakes, but I have to tell you, if you've ever been to the reptile exhibit at the zoo, some of the snakes that you look at, in their own way, are very beautiful. Their coloring, their markings are beautiful to look at. I don't like snakes, but I have to give them their due. And back before the fall, the serpent wasn't the enemy of man and was a very beautiful creature. Because of that, the devil chose to use the serpent for his own devices. He said, did God say? He posed it in the form of a question. Many times today, we're tempted when the devil comes to us with, "Did God say?" and tries to get us to question it. Now look, we talked about this a few lessons ago. The lies came into the woman through her hearing and seeing gates, not guarding the gate. Now, I'm not blaming Eve. The question I always ask is, where was Adam? Why wasn't he there? But the lies came into Eve's senses through her hearing and seeing gate, and she fell. She succumbed to the temptation. Now, when Adam saw the woman, instinctively, he knew that something was wrong. Her spirit had died. She no longer could communicate with God. But Adam remembered what God had told them would be necessary for redemption. In 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15, we read, "But women will be saved through childbearing." Now, a lot of people, and we know that part of the curse was that God told Eve that she would, through travail, give birth. And we see that as part of the curse. But in 2 Timothy 2:15, we see that was the method by which God was going to bring about the coming of the Messiah. So she offered the forbidden fruit to Adam. Now the scripture tells us Eve was deceived. Adam was not. Adam knew full well what would happen, but his love for Eve was great enough that he willfully partook of the fruit, knowing what was going to happen, but also knowing it was the only way that Eve would be saved. But partaking of the fruit meant that they both fell into sin, their spirits died, and as we'll see in the next lesson when we talk about Adam's depraved nature, every man born of Adam and Eve down through the generations to today, every man was born with their spirits dead, not sick. Paul said, you were dead in your trespasses and sins. Next lesson, we're going to look at the depraved nature and what actually happened. Until then, God bless you.